Hi Guadalupe, welcome back to our sessions.
Hi.
As you can see, we have a recording device here today. Just for educational purposes, if at any time you feel uncomfortable with it, then I can turn it off. I also just want to remind you, like I do every session, that everything that you say is confidential, but if I feel like you are harm to yourself or someone else, I will bring this up to my supervisor. Is that okay? Okay, so last week we went a little bit over your feelings about your fiance and how you're feeling overwhelmed with wedding planning and the anxiety that it's bringing on that you're having a wedding so soon after you were engaged. So I had given you a worksheet, an ABC worksheet. Were you able to go over that?
Not really. I wasn't really able to understand it.
Okay, so you know what? We'll go over an ABC worksheet together today with whatever we're talking about, and this way when I give you one for our next session, it'll be a little bit easier to understand.
Okay.
What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I feel like everything's piling up. I have, like you said, the wedding, and that's taken a lot of my time. But I'm also a full-time student, and I recently just failed one of the biggest exam I had for the semester.
Okay.
Which is just completely taken over my emotions. And to add to that, I am looking for a new job, so I haven't done job interviews in so long, and now I have to do it again.
Okay, so what I'm getting from you is that you're feeling overwhelmed
Very.
because you have an exam that you failed, but you also have to study for this interview that you have to get a job.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just so much that I don't know what to focus on. Like, I'm not sure if I should be focused on the wedding or school or work, or I don't know how to juggle it all, and I feel like I just need to quit school. I feel like that's the one thing that I should quit.
Okay. Well, let's step back a little bit. Have you been able to speak to your family about it?
No.
Okay.
I feel like they wouldn't understand
Okay.
because it's just like they have such a high. Not that they're judgmental or anything, but when it comes to me, they see me as perfect, and this would crush them.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that the anxiety that you feel is not only coming from yourself, but it's also coming from the expectations that your family has for you.
Yes. I don't want them to look at me different just because I feel like I'm failing in so many areas at this point in my life that it's unreal for me.
Okay. So what I have for you here is a worksheet that the counselors at our facility wrote. Basically, it's a list of beliefs that we use. And what happens is sometimes we don't realize that we're using those beliefs and they tend to be faulty. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you look at some of the beliefs that we have on the sheet and let me know if any of them are something that you might be operating at the moment.
Okay.
And I'll look at it on this one.
Well, to start off, I think number 2, it's necessary to have a higher degree of order, and certainly in order to be happy and perform well.
Okay.
Also, I would say number 4, it's necessary to be confident and successful in all of those things which are attentive.
Right, so that's a good example. This is the expectation from your family is probably what you feel like coming from this one.
Yes.
Okay. Any others?
Number 8, life should be entirely pleasant and enjoyable, and that any frustration, discomfort, pain would be unbearable.
So, of the 3 that you picked out, which of these do you feel stands out the most for you at the moment?
Number 4.
And how would you put that in your own words?
I guess I would say that I have to be successful in all that I do.
Okay. And you connected that with the one that you believe is the expectation from your family.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do, now that we have this information, is I'm going to go over this ABC sheet with you. And basically what it is that it's going to help us to catch our thoughts. And a lot of times we match the thoughts to the feelings and events that we have. So for example, here I'll give you one to look at, and I'll look at one for myself. A very good example is A is activating event. So the activating event in your case would be that you failed an exam. And so before we go to B, which is belief and thought, we'll skip over to C, which is the emotional and behavioral consequence. And so because you didn't do well in your exam and you feel like it's overwhelming, you think that maybe you don't want to go anymore. There's anxiety. You can't sleep, you can't focus on anything, you're forming anxiety and an overwhelming feeling because of this. So basically with the beliefs and thoughts, would you be able to just remind me of the beliefs and thoughts that you had when you failed your exam?
It was more like, I guess, believe unbearable. I couldn't believe that this was actually happening. Like how could this happen? Like, I felt that I've studied, I've never failed an exam, so it was just unreal to realize, like, wow, like something so big as this exam, and I failed, like really, like at this point in my life, where so many things are going on, it just felt overwhelming.
Okay. Now, can you explain another situation in your current situation that is overwhelming to you that we can use as an example for this worksheet?
I guess, like I've told you, like I'm looking for a new job, so going on job interviews, and I haven't done that in so long that it's just very stressful, especially everything that's going on.
Okay, so for this worksheet, what you would put in these sections is your activating event would be that you're going on a job interview. So we can write that in. And your emotional and behavioral consequence is that what would you think from that?
It's making me very anxious.
Okay.
Very anxious.
So instead of forming irrational thoughts, which would be, I'm going to fail, I'm not going to get the job, we can formulate rational thoughts. So what kind of thoughts would you think would be more positive that would help you feel like you could do okay in the job interview?
I guess that I'm applying there because I do have the experience in the field.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
That's one thing. And I guess before all of this came, the planning the wedding, the failing the exam, the looking for a new job, like I felt of myself as very worthy.
Perfect. So there are 2 great examples. We can put in that you're worthy. I'm worthy of this job interview. And the other one is that you have experience in the field. You know, you've gone to school for it, you're going to school for it now. So bringing that experience to the job interview and being able to explain to them that can be very helpful. And it's important to form these thoughts more than it is to believe that you will fail. So an activity that we can do today is role play, if you would like. Basically, I'm going to ask you a few common interview questions. And what this exercise can do is it helps in analyzing your answers so that we can kind of see what you tend to do in a job interview. And also, the more practice you get, the less fearful you'll feel during the job interview. Okay? So whenever you're ready, let me know, and I'm going to ask you a few questions that might be asked during a job interview. Okay? So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Would I have to focus on career-wise, or?
So you can always focus a little bit on your career. You can focus on something personal that you think would be nice to share with the interviewer. If you maybe did some research on them and you went to the same college, that might be nice to bring up. Maybe a little bit of expertise on something that you know the job entails.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
So I guess I have been working with children since I was 13. I started volunteering in after-school programs. I always felt very attached to children, and since 13, like, it's constantly that I work with children, either in after-school setting or during school. That has been like my passion, to work with children.
Awesome. It's a really great answer. So another one they might ask is, why do you want this job?
Well, I've seen the work the company does with children, and I feel like it's amazing and it's necessary. Not a lot of companies does this type of job with children, and if we do want a better future for children with not necessarily physical disorders, but more like, I feel like these children get a bad reputation based on media and different. I'm sorry, I just
No, you're doing great.
Different environments that children need to look at themselves from this company's view and be like, wow, like, I can do it. Like, I can actually be whatever I want, and I shouldn't feel worthless because of how I look physically.
Okay. So tell me about one challenge or conflict you faced at work and how you dealt with it.
I guess a few months ago I was working with a child. He's never, you could see him and you think, like, well, he's, there's nothing wrong. However, I wasn't aware that he has seizures, that he tends to have seizures, because during my presence, he's never had a seizure, and nobody communicated this to me, so it was very unexpected. And I saw, based on my training, how a child looks when they have a seizure. I've noticed that he was having the same symptoms. I asked him if he was okay. He said that he felt uneasy. So because at that time I was assistant, I went to the teacher who was the main one, and she told me that this child has seizures, and I felt very uncomfortable because I wasn't, nobody had communicated this information to me, so I didn't I didn't react. I just said, okay. But just like, I wanted her to get to the child. But I was very mad at the moment, but I didn't display that because I knew that the child had to be dealt with first. And then I sat down with her and told her that was very unprofessional of her not telling me that, a child was going to have seizures.
Right. So what I noticed as we go through your interview questions is that you started off unsure and not really certain of how to answer them. And then as they went on, you felt a little bit more confident and sure with your answers. And so what we can do is we can role play again next week. If you'd like to bring in a resume, we can go over your resume and see maybe what each job entails and how it can work with your resume. Also, like I've been having you make lists, I'm going to continue to have you make lists. What this does basically is it encourages you to see how your beliefs contribute to the problem. So how we went over this ABC worksheet, I found when you felt like you were going to fail, you felt a little bit more anxious, but as soon as we talked about you being more worthy, you had more of empowerment to want to do better in the interview. Okay?
Okay.
So how does that sound?
That sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to give you a worksheet, and we will meet again this time next week.
Okay.
Okay?
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.